Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind Podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's time for the Week 4 NFL podcast where Grant and I are going to break down each and every game on the main slate. And by that, Gene Ever, 07. Grant, how are you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing just tip top. Had a $30 Jack in the Box order this morning at 6 a.m. I've been doing baseball research. I've been doing football research. I think we're on the morning grind later tonight. I can't even remember. Schedules are very tough to read. But life is good.
We are on the baseball podcast for Thursday. That is correct.
Well, I get to see you twice in one day. What a day.
I bet you I'll be wearing the same shirt and probably the same hat as, like, I don't leave my computer desk on Wednesday except for to eat lunch and dinner. So there's a good chance that, I'll have baseball on still and I'll still be, sitting in the same spot.
I might be showered by then. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, that's an upgrade. I can smell you through the
I might take a bubbly bath.
So, all right, let's talk some football. We got what is it, 12 games now as of right now because of the postponed game, and we're still waiting on the other one, right? Like, so we're potentially looking at a 11 game slate, but still like a fun overall slate here in general, though.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good. And we have a lot of high totals in this game, a lot of potential game stacks, just a lot of stuff to really like here. So, yeah, this is going to be a fun slate. This is going to be a high-scoring slate.
Well, let's get into it. We start with the Chargers and the Bucks. It's a 44 total. Tampa's favored by 7 in this game. This game has some weather concerns, so we'll have to kind of see, how that plays out. But let's start with the Chargers side of things here. What are your thoughts when it comes to the Chargers?
Not really liking it a ton. Obviously, they only have an 18.5 implied team total. Like, Herbert has looked decent so far. He's definitely been putting up a good amount of fantasy points or a good amount of yards at least. The touchdowns, I think, will end up coming, but I don't think there's the right spot for it. I'm predominantly off the Chargers. I don't want to mess with either Kelly or with Eckler here going up against this Tampa Bay run D. Yes, they should get a decent amount of volume. If I was going to go with someone, it'd be Eckler, and that was just hoping on a decent amount of pass equity there. But I don't know. I think like Eckler's price tag of 7.1K is probably a bit too expensive. So if I'm going anyone in this game, and I am, it's going to be Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, 19 targets last week, 10 targets the week before. He has been just getting targeted all over the place with Herbert. Herbert clearly likes him. He's clearly a better fit than Tyrod Taylor for Keenan Allen here. I think he's underpriced at 6.5K over on DK with that full point PPR. I think he ends up with 7 to 12 receptions here. I think he gets 100 yards. I think decent chance he gets a touchdown. So I really like Keenan Allen. He's one of my favorite plays on the slate, but that's really all I've got for the entire Chargers team.
I don't love the Chargers. I loved Eckler last week. I think this is a little bit tougher matchup, but if you do think they're going to be trailing, he had 11 targets last week. Like, this is a completely different offense with Herbert at quarterback instead of Taylor. So I don't hate Austin Eckler, but I love Keenan Allen. I'm right there with you. I think this is a great, just great overall like spot when you're looking at it, for Keenan Allen. And I think that like Mike Williams being banged up only helps. Like, Williams didn't practice on Wednesday again, dealing with the hamstring injury. So I think Keenan Allen, and I actually think Hunter Henry's in play. I don't think like this week in my opinion, we don't have as many like tight end plays. There's a few spots that like I love, but like overall, I think that Tampa's been a middle of the road defense against tight ends, and I think that this is one of those spots you could potentially play Hunter Henry. What are we looking at? 23 targets over the first 3 weeks of the season. Like, the targets are going to be there. The touchdowns will eventually happen, don't you think? So I think Hunter Henry, especially if it's going to be like a wet, sloppy game, I think like Hunter Henry is definitely somebody in play here.
Yeah.
Let's talk. No, go ahead.
I just agreed.
Okay, I thought you had something to add to it. Let's talk Buccaneers here. Obviously, the news has come out that Chris Godwin is likely going to miss a couple weeks. So we're definitely not going to see him this week from what it sounds like. So we're looking at like Mike Evans as the lead guy, Scotty Miller and Justin Watson kind of mixed in here. What are your thoughts when it comes to the Bucs?
Yeah, I think Scotty Miller is actually questionable too.
I thought he returned. Oh no, it was Watson returned to practice. So Miller is still questionable. You're right.
Yeah, no, I mean we'll have to wait and see who's actually playing this weekend. Maybe some of the less likely guys for Tampa Bay. They're cheap. They're going to have to come in there if Miller ends up not playing, aren't play. But yeah, as of right now, like Mike Evans, Scotty Miller, both great plays. If Miller ends up playing without Godwin there's sure to be a decent amount more volume for both these guys, and even Gronk. You can really go with, and Corey Dickerson hit a home run. And yeah, like Mike Evans, we know that he's going to get a decent workload. He's 6.4K. He has big touchdown equity. He's gotten one in every single game so far this season. And the volume, the targets, the reception should absolutely be there. So this is just a spot without Godwin in there. The price tags of these guys really stand out as being way too low. So you can go with any of the pass catchers in this entire game. There's always a chance that they end up running the ball a decent amount if they get a lead. But overall, like Evans, Miller, if he plays, or if Miller doesn't play, any of the maybe Johnson, like all these guys are very much in play. And then if you want to go with Gronk, he's seeing a little bit more of an increased workload recently.
Yeah, like I don't hate it. I don't trust any of the running game in this spot. So like I'll look at Evans. If Miller plays, if Watson plays, like those guys are interesting. I think OJ Howard is a little interesting in this spot. But overall, like this isn't one of the games that like I feel like I'm going to be overweight on. Like in general. So I don't sound too, excited about it because of that reason. So Vikings and Texans, 54.5 total. Houston favored by 3.5 in this game. Let's start here with the Vikings. What do you like here for Minnesota?
For Minnesota, it looks like Jefferson is going to probably continue to get a decent amount of workload. I don't really expect him to do what he did last time, but this is going to be a high-scoring game, currently at 54.5 implied total, which is just absolutely through the roof. I'm fine with Cook. I'm fine with Johnson or Jefferson, and I'm fine with Thielen. They're all stand out as pretty decent plays. Nothing fantastic here. Like nothing really just jumps off the page. We know that Minnesota probably isn't going to throw the ball a ton. So we know that they're going to throw the ball to Cook. We know they're going to throw the ball to Jefferson, and we know they're going to throw the ball to Thielen if they do end up throwing. But I'd say Cook's probably the biggest guy that I want in this offense, but his price tag just isn't really worth it considering what we have up at the top this week and what we have in the mid-tier this week. So Vikings, I'm fine with any of those guys, but really not a spot where I'm looking for too many offensive pieces.
See, I like the Vikings a lot in this spot. I love Dalvin Cook. I think he's a top-end running back this week. I think the matchup is fantastic. The Houston defense has really struggled this season just in general, and they've been really bad against the run. So Dalvin Cook is a guy that hardly ever comes off the field. Like he plays over 70% of the snaps almost every week. So I think he's a fantastic play here. I think he's a top option. Thielen, Jefferson, I think these guys are in play. Really just kind of sets up like what type of game script you're expecting. If you're expecting Houston to get up in this game, maybe you look more to Thielen and Jefferson. Is Jefferson going to be popular? We don't have projected ownership, so we're not looking at that yet. So I do like Dalvin Cook a lot in this spot. I don't mind Thielen and Jefferson. Like I said, I think it really is going to depend on how you kind of shape this game up to be. If you expect this game to, kind of shoot out, then I think you can get pieces everywhere in this game. And then on the other side, the Houston side, like Minnesota defense is struggling. They're rough right now. And this is probably the best matchup we've had for Deshaun Watson so far this season, right? Like he really has had some tough matchups, and his price reflects the tough matchups he's had, Grant.
Yeah, no, like going up against Pittsburgh, going up against Baltimore, rough week one, going up against Kansas City. He's been in a lot of tough spots and hasn't really put up great numbers, but going up against Minnesota, the defense is horrible. Like it's really not the same defense it used to be. It is better versus the pass than it is versus the run. They've been terrible versus the run. I would much rather use David Johnson than Watson or any of the pass catchers. I don't mind them, but I'm pretty much all in on David Johnson at the moment. We don't have projected ownership. I have to wait and see on what it's going to be. I expect it to be high. I'm probably still going to be double the field. David Johnson sets up as a perfect spot. He hasn't gotten a ton of rushing attempts so far this season because the matchups have been really tough and they've been trailing a lot. So they finally get a decent one going up against Minnesota, who's giving up boatloads of yards rushing to opposing running backs. If Duke Johnson is back, which it looks like there's a decent chance he might be, then that gives a slight downgrade to Johnson, but I don't care. He's 5.6K against one of the worst run defenses in the entire league in a game script that's actually favorable to him for the first time all season long. So David Johnson is just 100% what I'm going in on. I might have a little bit of Watson or Fuller just to hedge, but it's David Johnson. That's it.
So this is one of those like stack spots that I think you could use the quarterback, the running back, and one of the wide receivers. Like when you're looking at like the pricing for all three of these guys, whether you go Fuller or Cobb or Cooks, however you want to kind of split up your wide receiver exposure, I think you can play David Johnson. I think you can play Deshaun Watson together, run it back with, Thielen or Jefferson and do a 3-1 type of, game stack here in this spot. So, I like this spot a lot. I like Houston a lot. My initial look for this slate, they're the team that I had the most plays written down from. So I think that, Will Fuller, we were all really high on Will Fuller coming into the season. Week 2 kind of got banged up a little bit, but week 3 back to 100% of the snaps. I think Will Fuller is in a fantastic spot here. This Minnesota defense has just been getting shredded by the pass, and I think people are going to be way too low on Will Fuller this week with a 54.5 total and them having a 29 point total. So I like him a lot. Steelers and Titans 47 total. This game's not happening. Moving on. Ravens and I just look at I look at the NFL lineups page and that game's not grayed out yet. So Ravens and the football team from Washington, 47 total here. Baltimore favored by 13. Is this the Lamar Jackson, all right, I got to go out and reprove myself game?
I mean, it would be if it weren't up against Washington. Lamar Jackson's a fine play. He'll probably end up with around 25, 30 points, but realistically, he's priced how he should be at 8.1K. I don't have a ton of interest in him, and yes, he may try and prove some things. Yes, he can put up a massive game just by playing the first half. I mean, we saw it multiple times last season, but it's a 13-point spread. It might get higher by the time the game starts. It's just a really, really blowout-prone game. I don't really see anything from the Baltimore side that I'm absolutely in love with playing. I don't want to mess with that backfield. Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews are both fine plays, but this is just a spot where I'm going to stay away from the Baltimore side because I just think it turns into an entire blowout.
See, I think Lamar Jackson has 2 rushing upside, touchdown upside in this spot. Chris Young not going to play for Washington, the very talented defensive end there. So I think that obviously helps him. I think this is a spot Mark Andrews is, one of the top plays on the slate at 6K. I think a lot of people will pay up for Kelsey, but I think this is a spot you can pay up for Andrews. So I like Lamar, I like Andrews, and outside of that, that's probably it. Let's go to the other side of this game. Do you have any interest here in Washington?
Maybe Gibson, but Baltimore's too good against the run where I don't really see him having a decent game. It's just that price of 4.5K. I'm probably not going Haskins. I've gone him way too much this season, and it's just not really gone well. I mean, if I'm going to take any guy, it's going to be McLovin just because he can put up a massive game at any given time. He's got the talent. He's getting the volume. Or it's going to be Thomas, whose just price tag is still 3.5K. He's gotten 7 targets in every single game this season. So he's got some upside. He hasn't really paid off too much, but the price tag's still pretty decent. It's McLaurin or Thomas, and that's really it from the Washington side. Not a ton to like from this game for me.
Yeah, those are the 2 guys that I have written down, McLaurin and Washington, or Thomas. Sorry. McLaurin, Inman has gotten a couple touchdowns here recently, last week, but Inman's banged up, didn't practice on Wednesday again, dealing with a wrist injury. So Sims is also dealing with a toe injury, so like Gandy Golden and Wright might get some snaps here. I still don't think like those guys are guys I want to play. I really just want to play McLaurin. I want to play Thomas, hoping that they're trailing and they get some garbage time work in this game. That's what I'm looking at. Saints and Lions, 54.5 total here. New Orleans favored by 4 in this game, going into Detroit. Let's talk Saints here. This seems like a really good spot to target the Saints. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of like I think regardless if Michael Thomas plays or not, I'm going to have some interest in this game. But if Michael Thomas doesn't play, then it's pretty much all systems go for Kamara. I mean, we saw what he did last week, 14 targets, 9 targets the week before, 8 targets the week before that. And, like, not all targets are created equally, but he can do a ton in the open field. Like, he's the focal point of their offense, and Drew Brees is accurate enough where most of those targets are going to turn into receptions. On full point PBR, he's just 44 in his last outing, 38 in the one before. Like, if Michael Thomas doesn't end up playing, I don't really care what Kamara's ownership is. I'm just probably going to lock him in.
Yeah, I'm with you. Obviously, we're going to have to wait and see on Thomas. He practiced on Wednesday, so, like, obviously that's a good sign for him to play this week. I think that, like you said, Alvin Kamara is a beast if Thomas doesn't play. If Thomas plays, he's 7,600. It's probably too cheap for a matchup against Detroit. If Thomas plays, I think Drew Brees is a little interesting. He's 5,800. He's a guy that can put up 30 fantasy points if Detroit's able to shoot this game out back. So I think Brees is someone that's somewhat interesting here, but I really want it to be like a Thomas combination. Like the matchup, like individual matchup here for Emmanuel Sanders. He kind of disappeared in week 2, scored a touchdown in weeks 1 and 3. So it's going to probably be a little bit more touchdown dependent than we had thought. But I think him and Tre'Quan Smith are interesting if Thomas don't play. So the Detroit side of things, like Kenny Golladay returned and had 7 targets, had a touchdown. He's a beast, and I always love him. It doesn't matter who they're going up against. What are your thoughts here when it comes to Detroit?
I mean, they've got a 25 implied team total. I love Golladay here. He's sitting at 6K. That's probably way too cheap. Like, the guy is an absolute stud. We know that he's going to get a large volume of targets. Like, he probably wasn't 100% this last week. I expect him to be closer to 100% this week. So him and Stafford, I've liked both of them quite a bit. It's a perfect spot to pair them up. And then Marvin Jones has been so interesting this year. I keep expecting him to crush, and he's really just doing nothing. Like, it was last season, it was Golladay or it was Marvin Jones almost every single week. Like, one of them put up a big game. We've seen big games out of Marvin Jones before, and he's just kind of entirely dropped off this offense. Like, he's not heavily involved. 8 targets week 1 was about it, and then 6 in week 2, 3 last week with Golladay coming back. I don't fully understand. I'm still going to play little bits of him, and I will have some stacks with both Marvin Jones and Golladay in it because I can get him for 10.9K total over on DraftKings. But this is almost entirely Golladay. As for the tight ends, it was a little interesting last week, and Jesse James got a decent amount of work. I think he ended up with a touchdown. He was targeted a lot more by Stafford than I thought he was going to be. I don't expect that to continue this week, but Hawkinson's still getting a decent workload, but that 4.8K price tag just doesn't really seem worth it to me. So it's predominantly Stafford and Golladay here. I am not messing with Peterson, Johnson, or Swift. Like, that entire backfield situation does not make sense to me.
Yeah, like, I don't think Jesse James' work is going to continue. I will note, like, it's, you know, you look at the matchups, it's been Tampa. Obviously, we watched the Raiders, like, shred Darren Waller, like, shred this defense. But, like, this is a team that's allowing 9.6 catches per game to tight ends through the first 3 games. Like, I still think it's a little early in the season to, like, fully rely on, like, these types of stats, but I do want to, like, note it. So I do think that Hawkinson is worth a look in tournaments. I still, like, I would rank them Golladay, Jones, like Hawkinson still. I'm not touching this running back situation. Like, I'm at the point, like, I played some Swift last week, and he disappeared. Like he only had 2 targets in that game against Arizona, and the game script wasn't that bad for him either. So I'm going to pass on the running back situation. It looks like Peterson is going to get running work, and even like Johnson's going to get some work. So I think like the 3-headed monster, I'm gonna stay away from that. Seattle at Miami, 54 total here. Seattle favored by 6.5. Obviously, this is one of the ones that we're really watching here because we need to know if Chris Carson's going to play or not. It was a first-degree sprain, and they say like it's possible that he plays. I don't know if they push it against the Dolphins. What are your thoughts here on the Seattle Seahawks?
I don't really think it matters if Carson does end up playing. I'm probably not using Carson. They are definitely throwing the ball way, way more now, and focusing more on the pass than they have in the past. So Carson was one of those guys that, he was decent, but the workload that he was getting, and they have been passing the ball a lot on the 1, 2, 3, 4 yard line, and that could also change back to where they're running again. But this is just a spot where Carson, if he misses, I'm probably not going homer or Hyde. I see a little bit split backfield. Neither one of them are talented enough to really merit playing them. So, I'm just crossing the running backs off my list almost entirely, regardless of if Carson plays or not. It's really the passing game, which just continues to, every single week, the recipe for success is to game stack the Seahawks game. It has not changed throughout the course of the season. Wilson or the opposing quarterback or both put up massive numbers every single week. Wilson still hasn't gotten under 30 points so far this season. And Miami's pass defense is not good. Wilson is priced at 7.8K. It seems a pretty safe bet that he's going to end up with 25 in this one with a lot of upside. So Wilson, Lockett, and Metcalf, same as every single week, are fantastic plays. Metcalf seems a little bit too cheap still at 6.8K. Lockett's too cheap still at 7K. So this is a full-on game stack spot here that I absolutely love, and it's you either take Metcalf, Lockett, or both with Russell if you're playing him.
Yep. I have nothing else to add. I love Lockett and I love Metcalf. Lockett last week had a monster game. The pass defense for Miami, don't let the Jags game throw you off. I know a lot of people watch that game because it's Thursday night. The pass defense for the Dolphins is not good. So I think this is a fantastic spot to play Wilson and his pass catchers here. And if Carson sits, I don't think I'll play Carlos Hyde. I think if he was 4K, it'd be a little bit easier to play Carlos Hyde, but 5,300 Carlos Hyde, he needs a touchdown or 2 to beat me, and I think they're going to put the ball in Wilson's hands before they put the ball in Carlos Hyde's hands because they put the ball in Wilson's hands before they put the ball in Carson's hands. And you talked about, the recipe for success this season is stack against the Seahawks and play the Seahawks. This defense is struggling. It is bad. So let's talk Miami Dolphins here. We saw Myles Gaskin really become the lead guy over the last few weeks. He's 5K, but we love us some Fitz magic. Is this a week we're gonna run to the cash window with Fitz magic?
You mean every single week outside of week 1? Darn it! Yeah, Fitz magic. He only threw the ball 20 times last week. And he was fantastic in those 20 throws, complete 18 to 20 passes, but they didn't really need to do too much because guess what? They were ahead by a decent amount the entire game. So they relied a little bit more on Gaskins. I'm not expecting 20 rushes by Gaskin this week, but he's so heavily involved in the passing game. 4 targets, 7 targets, 5 targets in the last 3 weeks. He's a guy that can put up big numbers in the passing game. Fitzmagic is probably going to throw the ball 40, 45 times in this game. I love Fitzmagic here. And I'm pairing him with Parker. I'm pairing him with Gesicki. I'm pairing him with Williams a little bit, although he just hasn't seemed to have the same connection with him as he did with some other guys last season. What was it, Rosen? They just haven't been using him nearly as much. So to me, Parker is the clear number 1 option. Parker hasn't had a blow-up game this season because he's been struggling a little bit with injuries. But we look at last season and multiple games of over 20 points to end the season, a 30-point game in there. I expect his target numbers to probably go up to around, 10 plus in this matchup and going forward. So Parker here at 5.7K, drastically too cheap. Fitzmagic is an incredible play. And Gesicki, while he's a little bit more expensive at 5.1K, absolutely has the upside. They bring him into the slot quite a bit. He's basically their number 2 wide receiver, and he's a perfect guy to pair with Fitzmagic. But Parker's my number 1 in this game, followed by Gesicki, followed by Gaskins, followed by Williams. But I will have this game stacked up every which way because guess what? It just doesn't seem to fail this year.
I think Devonte Barker is one of the best plays on the entire slate. I think that, his snap counts have been trending in the right direction after only playing 40% week 1. I think the hamstring is starting to feel good. Full practice Wednesday. I think Devonte, he played 87.5% of the snaps against Jacksonville. And they were leading, he didn't need to play 87% of the snaps that game, and he did. So I think this is your Devonte Parker blow-up game. I think he has a monster game here. Like I said, he's one of my favorite plays on the slate. I don't mind pairing Fitz, Gaskin, and Parker together. If you think that they're going to be trailing and you want to go, I don't typically 5-man game stack a game, but I could see playing 3 Dolphins and 2 Seahawks here or something along those lines, or 3 Seahawks and 2 Dolphins. This is a game I love, Grant. This is a game I'm going to stack up for sure. Colts and Bears, 44 total. Colts favored by 2.5 in this one. Let's start with the Colts side of things. We have no idea who's going to be playing wide receiver for them this weekend. They're dealing with a lot of injuries at wide receiver right now. What are your thoughts here when it comes to the Colts?
Having trouble trying to figure out who to play in this one. Obviously, Taylor's probably going to get a decent workload. Chicago's defense so far this year has been not as great versus the run as they have been versus the past. We know that Indy's probably not going to go at a very high pace at any given time. I think they currently are 31st in pace. This is just not real appealing to me over on the Indy side. I don't expect this game to be too high scoring. Taylor, of course, is a guy that's absolutely in play, but you're kind of hoping for rushing upside. He only had 3 targets in each of the last 2 games. Maybe that changes a little bit, but I expect Indy to leave this one. Rivers, I don't expect to throw a ton in this one. I don't know which wide receiver is going to be used. Rivers in the last 2 weeks has thrown the ball 21 times and 25 times. Again, they're going at a slow pace. They're going to run the ball. They're going to try and not make mistakes. And I might just cross Indy off my list entirely.
Yeah, last week is so hard to judge because they dominated the whole game. So it's tough. I think with Nick Foles, this game has the potential to be competitive. My only problem with this game is what you said. It's the pace of play. The Colts want to play slow. The Bears, they're a team that typically plays a little slow. So the guy that I think could potentially break the slate is Jack Doyle. We know how much Phillip Rivers loves tight ends. He didn't get targeted last week. He only played 50% of the snaps. He didn't need to play. Ali Cox got the touchdown. He played 60% of the snaps. I really think it was more of them just being up. I think Jack Doyle could have a big game. I think they could use a lot of 2 tight end sets too. They're dealing with so many injuries. It's tough not to have interest in Pascal or T.Y. Hilton or something. Just if you think this game is going to be any remotely competitive. So Taylor's always in play. Again, they didn't need him a ton last week, so you can't really look at last week. I don't even know if he played in the second half much last week. So it's hard. It's hard because I want to play some Colts because of all the injuries, but I also think this could be the game that is the slowest pace game on the slate with the least amount of plays. And, we want plays for DFS, Grant. We want plays. Give us the plays. Chicago Bears, Allen Robinson. I know it's a tough matchup against the Colts, and the Colts defense has been really good this season, but Nick Foles locks in on a receiver, and we already saw in the second half of the game that it's going to be Allen Robinson.
Yeah, no, Robinson is going to get targeted a lot, as he should be. The guy is a great player. The volume should absolutely be there. Nick Foles shows a big connection with him, and they really don't have a ton of other guys to throw to. Anthony Miller really just doesn't look great so far this season, really hasn't done a ton, and pretty much everyone else. Like, it's Allen Robinson, and then surprisingly enough, it's been Jimmy Graham a decent amount here. It looks like he's been a lot better. Granted, it was a matchup versus Atlanta. They're coming from behind, all sorts of stuff like that. But he's got 3 touchdowns so far on the season. He's looked pretty decent. Chicago likes to throw the ball to tight ends, and they don't have a ton of other options. I don't hate Jimmy Graham at 3.8K. Like, I had a lot of Trubisky stacks with both Robinson and Graham that it made me so angry when it got benched, which I was angry just because it lost me a lot of money. But Nick Foles is absolutely the better guy. I don't think there's a week where I'm going with him. Like, again, this is not a high enough pace game. Indy's got a good enough defense, like currently number 1 DVOA versus the pass. So Robinson just because of volume, Graham because Indy tends to funnel targets to the tight ends and the running backs. Like, I think you can take a shot on Montgomery. There's a decent chance they try and run the ball with him a lot more. And without Cohen in there, he could see an increase in targets. And Foles likes to dump the ball off to running backs quite a bit. So, like, no one really stands out too much outside of Montgomery and Robinson, but you can play any of these guys.
It's Robinson and it's Graham. That's really all I have interest in here. I think those are the 2 guys to play in this spot. I don't hate Montgomery. I think he's okay, but I think there's a bunch of running backs that I like on the slate. So Arizona at Carolina, 52 total. Arizona favored by 3.5 in this one. Let's start with the Cardinals. What do you like here for Arizona?
Murray's fine. Hopkins, fine again. Like, we know he's going to get massive volume every single week, and this week will be no different. Decent shot at 100 yards, a touchdown, 10 catches in this spot here. Like, this is going to be a fairly high-scoring game. Arizona has a 27 implied team total. Drake's in for a good makeup spot here. Like, he hasn't really done too much this season. He's not getting targeted in the passing game a whole lot. But Carolina's defense is not good. I mean, 28th in DVOA, both against the pass and against the run. They just aren't a good defense. They're young. They blow assignments. This is another game. Like, there's about 4 games on the slate that are fantastic stack spots. This is another one of them here. Like, you can absolutely use Hopkins, Drake, and Murray in a stack together. Like, this could be a high-scoring game. Murray can get the rush yards there. He is priced at 7K, but he really hasn't let you down all season long, and he's not going to have much better matchup against this terrible Carolina defense. So it's all system go with these Cardinals.
Yeah, like DeAndre Hopkins is getting in like Michael Thomas, Julio Jones floor, Devontae Adams like floor range at this point. Like, he is just, his floor is massive. So I love Kenyon Drake here. It's no secret, if you listen to the first 3 weeks, that I'm going to pick on the Carolina running game as much as I possibly can. So I like Drake. I like Murray. This might be the first week that I don't play Murray in cash games, and I might end up playing like Drake in cash instead. But I think you can play both of them if you end up on that build. I don't think it's the craziest idea. Do not forget to run this game back with the Carolina side. Like, let's just talk about that for a second. Like, if you're playing a bunch of Arizona, do not forget to run this game back with the Carolina side, Grant. Like, this is a spot where DJ Moore could have a good game. Robbie Anderson could have a good game. Mike Davis could have a good game. You have 3 really strong potential run back candidates if you're going to stack Arizona.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm going to be stacking Carolina. Like, I really like the spot for Carolina. We look at what Teddy Bridgewater has done so far this season, and outside of last week where he didn't really have to pass the ball too much, only 28 attempts, 34 attempts in week 1, 42 in week 2. Like, this is a spot where Arizona runs at the 6th highest pace in the entire league. He's going to have a lot of plays. There's going to be a lot of passes, and while it hasn't really fully correlated to his him getting points, like, he did get a ton of yards in week 1 and week 2. He's only got 2 passing touchdowns on the year. I expect that to change. I'm probably running out some lineups with Bridgewater, Mike Davis, and Robbie Anderson all in the same lineup. I think you can take a shot on DJ Moore. He's going to be low owned. He's at 5.6K. He did have 1 week of 13 targets. Didn't really get targeted a ton last week, but he really didn't throw the ball last week. I think he's in for a big game. We were all so high on him at the beginning of the season, and then he just has not delivered. So, like, I'm going to take a few shots on him. I love Mike Davis in this spot. This guy is probably going to run the ball a decent amount, but he's super heavily involved in the pass game. It's weird that they weren't really passing the ball too much to McCaffrey so far this season, but Mike Davis in there just getting dump-offs of days, has a whole lot of receiving equity, has a whole lot of floor just with his reception upside. So I love this game, and I probably like the Carolina side more than I like the Arizona side.
Yeah, fair enough. You don't typically like stack running backs, but you could play Davis and Drake together on a team in this one. I think they're both very viable. So, yeah, I like Mike Davis. I really like DJ Moore. I really like Robbie Anderson. Like ceiling wise, Robbie Anderson's already kind of showed us his ceiling this season. So we know like he's going to get the targets and he's going to have plenty of upside here. So I like this game. I'm right there with you. I like this game a lot. Jacksonville at Cincinnati, 49 total. Cincinnati favored by 3 in this game. Let's talk with the Jacksonville Jags. They looked awful against the Miami Dolphins on Thursday night. They've had an extra couple days to prepare for this game. I think they bounced back, Grant. I think that, like, I know a lot of people are, like, saying, oh, this is the best shot for Burrow to get his first win and stuff. But I think, like, Jacksonville is going to play them super tough in this game. And I think that, like, this game has a chance to hit that, over in the 49 total. So what do you think on Jacksonville here?
I mean, a lot of it comes down to DJ Chark. If he ends up playing, then
he practiced fully on Wednesday. He's gonna play. Yep.
Yeah, I knew he practiced today, but yeah. If Chark ends up playing, he's in play. But most of my interest with Jacksonville is just James Robinson. This guy.
I lied. It was a limited. I swear it said that he was a full practice. My bad.
Oh, good. That's why I figured it was. That's what I thought I read earlier. But yeah, like it's James Robinson here. This guy has been good so far this season. Lots of touchdown equity. Gonna get a decent amount of carries. Cincinnati so far this year has been a lot better versus the pass than they have versus the run. 21st in DVOA versus the run so far. So to me, it's pretty much just James Robinson and Chark. Don't really have a ton of interest in Minshew. Yes, he can put up a decent game, but predominantly he's going to stick right around 20 points. I'm fine with it, but really not a guy that I want to go with. I don't mind Keelan Cole. He really let down this last weekend, but he's still priced at 4.5K. Even before Chark was out, 7 targets and 5 targets in the previous 2 games, had a touchdown in each. He's got speed. He can go off for a big play at any time. Like, he's probably my favorite outside of Robinson over on Jacksonville to use in tournaments. But like way more of my interest is over on the Cincinnati side.
Yep. I like Robinson a lot in this spot. I think that like they got crushed last week and he still put up 30.9. This guy's gonna be like a workhorse running back. Like they didn't trade Fournette for no reason. They fully believe in this guy and he's gonna get plenty of work. My initial thoughts and stuff were I might play him in cash games at 6,500 because I do think his floor is massive in a game where if they trail or if he's running the ball well. So I like him a lot. I really do. I like if Chark plays, I like him, but I like Shenault and you mentioned Cole. I like both of those guys as well. I think they're cheap. Jacksonville's cheap, and a game they should be trailing. Jacksonville's cheap, and I honestly don't hate Minshew either. Like large field tournament play, I really don't hate Minshew. Let's talk Cincinnati. What do you think on Cincinnati?
Absolutely love Burrow. Really like Boyd. Don't mind Higgins. Higgins played a decent amount this last week, and he got 9 targets. Obviously, I don't know if I could fully count on that again, but 6 to 8 targets at his 4.5K price tag can do it. Like Burrows has been throwing the ball a lot so far this season. 44, 61, and 36 passing attempts. He's going up against Jacksonville, who is the worst pass defense in the league so far this season. And so I love Burrow. I absolutely love Burrow this week. I don't know if he's going to draw nearly enough ownership. 26 implied team total, and I'm just going to pair him up with all his wide receivers. I know AJ Green is old and he might be dust, but he's sitting at 5.5K, averaging around 9 targets per game so far this season. And even though he hasn't done a whole lot, this is a spot where he can absolutely have a big game. So Boyd is my top option here. Obviously 13 targets, 8 targets. had 125 yards, 2 20-point games in a row going up against Philly and Cleveland, and this matchup is just perfect. So I am loading up on the Cincinnati passing game on this slate.
Yeah, I think I think Mixon's in play as well. Like, I think he needs to be in your running back pool this week. Also, like, you mentioned Boyd. I love Boyd. I like AJ Green's price. I do think he has some touchdown equity, but I think Tyler Boyd has emerged as the number one wide receiver with Joe Burrow, and I don't think anyone can really argue that. Like, he's outplaying AJ Green right now. So, moving on, we got Cleveland at Dallas, 55 total. Dallas favored by 4.5 in this game. Let's talk Cleveland Browns. Like, Dallas is a huge, one of the highest implied team totals here, Grant. But I think Cleveland's going to score here, so it really just comes down to who do you think is going to get the work?
Yeah. I think Hunt was limited in practice today. I think I saw that, so he's questionable for this week, and that'll kind of determine things for me. But Dallas running at by far the highest pace this season. I think their average seconds per play is 19.88 so far this season. The next closest is Atlanta at 23.8. They're going to run a ton of plays. I'm trying to figure out who I want to use over on Cleveland. Like, OBJ still hasn't had a big game once in his entire Cleveland career. Landry really hasn't done a ton so far this season. Like, it's been rough. And I think that probably if Hunt misses, I'm going to use a ton of Chubb. Like, it's just real simple. He's going to get a ton of work in this. I think that they're going to run the ball a whole lot in this game. And just with the pace of Dallas, I have to assume that Chubb is going to get 25-plus carries if Hunt ends up missing. And I think this is a great spot for him. I don't mind Mayfield. I don't mind OBJ. I don't mind Landry. It's just I don't know if I fully trust them in any given game, and I don't know if I want to go with any of them.
Yeah, like I like the price on OBJ and Landry. I think the price on those guys are super solid. I think it's super interesting that Cleveland activated Hillard earlier this morning. So I think that Kareem Hunt, the groin injury could potentially be more on like the doubtful side of anything than playing. Like he didn't practice Wednesday with the groin injury, so if Hunt misses, like Chubb becomes one of the top plays on the slate. I don't care. Like, we know the workload is going to be there in both the running game and the passing game if Hunt doesn't play. But it also bumps up Odell Beckham. It also bumps up Landry. We could potentially even see like Austin Hooper have a decent game if Hunt doesn't play. Like, Kareem Hunt has been a guy that has been a huge part of both the running game and the passing game. So I like Cleveland here. I think they're very interesting. Like, you don't know who you're going to get. Like, but like if you're going to play a lot of Dallas, I'm going to play a lot of Dallas. I think a lot of people are going to play a lot of Dallas. You got to run it back here with, Chubb or Odell Beckham or Landry or even Hooper if Hunt doesn't play. So let's talk Dallas side of things. I love Dallas. I think Dak is going to be my cash game quarterback right now. Like, that's kind of where I'm leaning. What is your thought here on Dallas?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to like him. I mean, Dak over 450 passing yards in 2 straight weeks. Matchup versus Cleveland, who's kind of a middle-of-the-road defense so far this season. And we know that they're going to play a whole lot. Again, they're running at the fastest pace by a wide margin so far this season. It's just figuring out who to play him with. I mean, honestly, like, I think this could be a decent Zeke game, though. Like I said, they're favored where they've come from behind each of the last 2 weeks. So Zeke hasn't had a ton of rushing work, although he has been targeted extensively in the passing game. I think this is a better Zeke spot than is a Dak spot, but I'm like every single week, I'm probably just going to use a whole lot of Dallas. And we finally saw Gallup have a good game this last week while everyone was on CeeDee Lamb and Cooper. I think it's just a constant change where it's going to be CeeDee Lamb or it's going to be Cooper or it's going to be Gallup. We just don't know. So I'm going to sprinkle in all sorts of them. If I had to rank them, I still think that Gallup is probably my least favorite. CeeDee Lamb's probably my favorite, followed by Cooper. But, yeah, just all systems go for Dallas because anytime you're getting a team running at this ridiculous pace, they're going to put up a lot of fantasy points.
Yes. I think that, like, CD kind of, I wouldn't even say, like, he busted. He didn't have the best game. Still went double digits, so, like, we can't say, like, he had a goose egg bust type of game, but I think that he's super interesting here because I think a lot of people will flock to Gallup, and I think Cooper is super interesting. Like, Cooper, he's still had over 9 targets in every game. He just hasn't scored a touchdown yet, so he finds the end zone here. Like, his upside is really high. Cleveland's been really bad against the tight end this season, so if you want to take some shots with Dalton Schultz, I don't hate that. You know, he had 6 targets last week. He had 10 targets against Atlanta. I worry about if they do get up in this game, how much work he will get. So maybe I'm using Schultz on like a Baker Mayfield stack or something like that, hoping that Cleveland actually gets up in the game. Moving on to the 4 o'clock games. We have 3 of these this week. We got the Giants and the Rams, 48 total. Rams favored by 13 in this game. What's your thoughts here on the Giants?
I'm done with them.
Who do you play?
There's nothing good.
Yeah.
It's just ugly.
You just look at it and you're like, who do we play? Freeman probably gets a little bit more work here. They talked about increasing his work, but like he's 4,800. Jones has not looked good. Shepard's on the IR, so Slayton and Tate if you're stacking the Rams, but are you really stacking the Rams here? Like, I don't know. I think this is a pretty big stay away spot for me.
Yeah. I honestly, I don't know if I'll use a single player from this game.
I love the defense, the Rams defense, and pairing them with Henderson. I think that is a combo you can look at here this week. As long as like Akers doesn't play. He's still day-to-day, didn't practice Wednesday. So if Akers is out, I could see playing Henderson and the Rams defense as a combo, but like it could easily be Malcolm Brown too. So it's a question mark, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, this just isn't. Like, it's probably going to be the Rams running game, and especially if Akers comes back, good luck figuring out who's going to be the biggest beneficiary. So because even Robert Woods is getting 3 attempts a game. Like, this is just a full-on stay-away spot. This is going to be an ugly game. This game's going to be a blowout. Giants are terrible. Like, I just cross this one off my list.
Yeah, it stinks. Like, maybe the afternoon slate, you get a little bit more exposure to this game. Like, if you're playing the 4 o'clock only games, but like, I don't know. I like the Buffalo game more. I like the Kansas City game more. Like, and it's not like these guys are like super cheap. Like, if Cooper Kupp was cheap, I like the matchup for him. But like, I don't know. I don't know how much I'll end up playing him at this price. Quick one. We're going to move right on. The Rams, they have a 30 implied total though. Maybe we should like Woods and Kupp more. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I like, now the more that I think about it, there were a few situations last season where the Rams were going up just against a terrible defense, and Goff just went absolutely off. I know that they've been running the ball a decent amount this year, but like there were a lot of games where Goff just threw the ball, aired it out, put up huge numbers, blew them out, and then left the game. And it was mostly against bad defenses. I mean, we saw what he did against Arizona last year, against Atlanta last year. Like, going up against bad defenses, Goff can absolutely put up 500 yards. Like, I'm starting to think about this more because Woods and Kupp, like, either one of them could go off for a huge game if the Rams just decide to throw the ball against this horrible, horrible Giants pass defense. So, I don't know. You might see me with a Rams stack, like, the more I'm talking about. It's still early on in the week, and I haven't built a ton of lineups, but the prices are not terrible. And this game, you're right, it's a 30 implied total for the Rams. Like, we have to think about it.
It's not like the Rams defense has been great either. Let's be honest. Buffalo kind of shredded them. Philly didn't do too bad against them. Dallas didn't do too bad against them. Like, it's not like the Rams defense has been like this amazing, like, crush you defense. I don't know. I think that I don't know. I think it's interesting. It's interesting. I'll just say that it's interesting. We have I'm filling in for beer on Sunday morning, so like it'd be me, you, and Dean on Sunday morning for the show early in the morning. So
just an hour of ragging on Dean.
Yeah, pretty much. I might like this game a lot more on that show than I do right now. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. I want to see projected ownership because if like Cooper Kupp and like Robert Woods are going to be like 3% owned, I have a lot more interest in them. Studs that have high work shares, like target shares and stuff. I don't know. Anyway, Bills and Raiders, 52 total. Buffalo favored by 3 on the road, going to Vegas. Josh Allen in a dome. Josh Allen, our boy. Josh Allen, boy, man, this guy is a beast.
Yeah. Who could have predicted that he would be the best quarterback in the league this year? Oh yeah, both of us.
I would say, like, if you guys have listened, we have been very high on him since the beginning of the season in every start so far.
Yeah, I've never gotten him wrong because he's never had a bad game this season. Like having Diggs on his team is just such a boost to him. I know that Diggs didn't end up doing anything last week. It was mostly just not in the game. He still ended up second half coming back, but this Raiders defense, like this spot here, I absolutely love Diggs. Like this is a perfect bounce back spot for him. It's in a dome. Like he's an incredible route runner with a dome. Like Josh Allen, I think, is probably going to target him 10, 15 times. Like, this is a perfect spot for Allen. This is a perfect spot for Diggs. And Diggs is going to go way under own when they just completely ignored him last week in the first half. John Brown's banged up, which could give more work to Diggs. I don't know if I want any other Buffalo player or any other Buffalo receiver. The interesting thing is Singletary. Moss is still questionable this week. I don't know if he's going to end up playing. And if he doesn't end up playing, I mean, the Raiders have been the worst team in the league versus the run so far this season. He should be in for a decent workload. They're probably going to be leading. I think they're the better team. Singletary's been involved in the passing game. Like Singletary, Josh Allen, Diggs, absolutely love all of them.
This is one of those games you're really going to have to pay attention to because Zach Moss affects Singletary for sure. John Brown affects Cole Beasley and Diggs. And Knox, who missed last week with a concussion, practiced fully on Wednesday, so don't do like a Tyler Kroft like chase game. I love Josh Allen. I'll be pairing Josh Allen with Diggs for sure, but I also like Cole Beasley. Beasley's 4,700. He's gotten at least 6 targets in every start, and with John Brown out last week, we saw him lead the team in receiving yards. So I think Cole Beasley – John Brown got hurt in last week's game, left the game early. So I think Beasley is definitely someone to look at, as far as like cheaper end of this stack. But, yeah, the Raiders have really struggled against the run. So if Moss is out, I think Singletary is someone we can go back to well on. The Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders have actually played really decent to, start the season. Obviously – they didn't look the best against New England. We kind of knew it, though. We talked about it last week. We were like, there's no way that the Raiders go into Bill Belichick's land and Darren Waller had a big game. I fully faded him. I'm not fully fading him in this one.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, this is interesting because Ruggs is out or doubtful. Edwards, I think they just ruled out.
He's out, yep.
Yeah. Waller – the Buffalo's been decent versus the tight end, but Waller we saw what he did against the Saints. Yeah, he's definitely in play. 5.2K, like hurt wide receiving core. He's a guy I'm going to look at. I'm not playing Carr. I don't really like Josh Jacobs. We've talked about so many running backs so far this slate that are just better plays. Jacobs could have a 30-touch, like 30-point game. But I don't know if he's a guy that I really want to use in comparison to everyone else. So I'm probably off Jacobs. Zay Jones revenge?
No
No is maybe the right answer, maybe the
He's
wrong
3K.
answer.
Like, if it was a showdown slate, maybe the late slate or something. Like, I can't do. I'd play Aguilar before I'd play Zay Jones. I think. I don't know.
Yeah,
Renfro.
Renfro's definitely in play. I mean, he's 4.6K. He's the de facto number one in this offense right now, which is kind of funny. But yeah, he got 9 targets last week. If he gets into the end zone, he crushes value. But he's probably going to get a decent amount of targets this week. I just like figuring out who to go to outside of Waller or maybe Jacobs on this Raiders team is just tough.
Like, the problem is I like Josh Allen. I know I'm going to have Allen with stacks of Diggs and Beasley, depending on if John Brown plays. So, like, I want to run it back with somebody. So, like, Renfro and Waller are probably my favorites. But, like, you don't feel great about it, right? Like, you don't. But I think, like, Renfro is probably my favorite with Waller being second. If Waller was cheaper, he would be second for sure. But I also think, like, Nelson Aguilar and Zay Jones are super, super cheap. So I get why you would potentially run back a stack with those guys. Last game for us for week 4 for the main slate is the Patriots and the Chiefs, 53.5 total. Let's start here with the New England Patriots, the new look New England Patriots. Cam Newton and this team, getting the job done, starting the season off 2-1, beating the Raiders last week. What's your thoughts here on the Patriots?
It's really just Cam Newton for me. Like, I don't mind Edelman. I don't mind Harris. I don't mind really anyone in this offense. I just don't like them, but I really like Newton. It's a high-paced game going up against Kansas City. I think we could see something similar to what we saw against Seattle. Cam Newton doesn't need to throw a whole lot in order to make value. Like, there's a decent chance that he doesn't end up making value to many of his pass catchers. Like, James White is probably going to be back, so Edelman, his volume is probably going to go down. Harris, not really the most consistent guy. I don't know if he's going to end up with a big game here, and I don't know how many targets he's going to end up with or how much Cam Newton's going to throw the ball. But the rushing touchdown upside is absolutely there for him. He can spread the ball out, especially if White doesn't end up coming back. He practiced today, so again, real sad scenario. If he doesn't return, I'd understand, but it looks like he's going to, in which case I'm fully staying away from Burkhead, Michelle, and White. Like, just no interest in the running game. It's almost strictly a Cam Newton naked game for me.
Listen, I don't mind Edelman or Harry. I think they're going to trail in this game, and like I know, like, we looked last week and we watched Baltimore not do a lot against the Chiefs, and like I think that we see a little bit more from this one. So I like Edelman, I like Harry. If James White plays, I'll have a little exposure just because, like, I believe in all those fun narratives of, like, this is going to be a monster game for him and he's going to play for his parents. Like, I don't know. Like, Cam would get him a touchdown, too, I feel. Like, Belichick would get him a touchdown. So, James White, I don't know. I will have exposure if he practices. But, like, here's the thing on the New England running backs. Like, who's not going to be active? Like, White's going to be back. Burkhead's healthy. Sonny Michel is healthy. They're going to activate Damian Harris this week. J.J. Taylor is the rookie running back that's healthy. Like, they're going to have so many running backs. It's crazy. Did they showcase, like, Burkhead the last couple of weeks so they can move him? I don't know. We'll see. He's like a New England running back at the core, though, so who knows. Let's talk Kansas City here. What are your thoughts on the Chiefs?
Everyone. CEH is a fantastic play, getting 20 touches almost every single week. And I see a similar situation here going up against New England. He's being involved in the pass game, 6 targets, 8 targets the last 2 weeks. Snap share is there. He's priced at 6.4K, which is a terrible price tag. But it's Kansas City. They have a 30 implied total. Pat Mahomes is just, I should call him Patrick, according to his mom. Patrick Mahomes is absolutely just incredible. You can go Hill, you can go Hardman, you can go Watkins, you can go Kelsey, you can go. There's not a single part of this offense that you don't want to get. I don't know if it's my favorite spot on the slate, but I will definitely have some KC stacks. I think my main target is going to be Kelsey, just because of how tight end is this week. But like I don't have any problem with anyone. Like my interest in this game is CH number 1, Kelsey number 2, Mahomes number 3, Hill number 4. If you want me to rank them, but I love every one of them. It's Kansas City. It's that simple.
My only concern is, does Belichick scheme against Kelsey? Like how? Like who else do you scheme against? Like you can't really scheme against Tyreek Hill's speed. You can't really scheme against Patrick Mahomes because he's just that good. Like, do they scheme against Kelsey here? Like, I'm gonna go back. I know they've played recently, and just kind of look at Kelsey's numbers against the Patriots. I don't have it up in front of me, so I feel bad that like I'm saying this and not talking about it and not saying it. But I am a little curious to see like how Kelsey's done against the Patriots in years past. Are you trying to pull it up?
I know last year he had 19 points, but he had a rushing touchdown against them the time they played. I can't remember the year before that. But yeah, I don't know. Like, yes, he could scheme against them, but looking at tight end, like up at the top, it's him and it's Andrews, and I just drastically prefer Kelsey. I don't care if they do try and scheme against him. Andy Reid's a good enough offensive mind that he'll get the ball into the hand.
No, I get it. I'm just saying, like, it's just something that I do. Like, if I'm paying that price, I got to do the due diligence of at least looking, in my opinion. So I like Sammy Watkins' price. It's 4,400. At home against the Patriots, I think Sammy Watkins is really, really cheap and just somewhat interesting here. It's kind of it. I'm with you. I think everybody's in play for the Chiefs. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game and be fun playing Josh Allen instead of Patrick Mahomes on the afternoon slate. So
yeah, I'm going to play some afternoon slate. I don't normally play it, but Josh Allen, I can't not.
I play it a lot. I've played it for years now, and like I do the expert survey for it. So like, just get ready if you're a premium member to get all the Josh Allen love instead of Mahomes in the extra survey. Let's play the morning grind game, and then we'll get out of here. We're gonna use DraftKings pricing like we normally do. Give me a quarterback to throw for over 300 yards that's not in the top like 5 or 6.
I'm gonna give you the 4th cheapest quarterback on the slate, who's gonna be top 3 quarterback this week, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
You took my guy.
Of course I did, because he's the greatest QB in the world.
You took my guy. I really was hoping you'd go Burrow. I really think Drew Brees throws for over 300 yards this week. It's just a hunch.
Yeah, it can happen any week.
I know, and like people are like the home road splits I don't think matter as much, and this game's inside. Like I think that Brees has a good game this week. Give me a low-owned running back to score a touchdown this week. And obviously, like we usually will have like projected ownership, and I'm refreshing really quick just to see if it's potentially up while we've been recording, and it is not. So we don't have projected ownership this week to kind of pinpoint an under 10% owned guy. So give me someone you think is going to be low-owned.
I think James Robinson's probably going to go a bit low-owned, so I'll go with him.
I hope so. I really am considering playing him a lot this week. So I hope he goes a little lower owned. I don't think Kenyon Drake is going to be low owned. Do you think Henderson for the Rams is going to be popular?
No, I do not.
I think he finds the paint at least once. So give me him. Give me a quarterback wide receiver stack for a touchdown.
Diggs.
It's like I couldn't even finish saying, and you like had it there. So
I love Diggs. I love Diggs this week.
I like it. I was trying to think of one that's like off the board a little bit. Man, if you didn't take Fitzpatrick, I would say Fitz Parker. I love Parker this week. Let's do it. Fitz Parker. I'm gonna up your Fitz and say he's gonna throw a touchdown at least one time to Devonte Parker. There you go.
I mean 3 times, but okay.
Give me a wide receiver that's getting at least 8 targets this week.
Oh, Keenan Allen.
All right. You know what? I don't think John Brown plays. Give me Beasley.
Ooh, I like it.
I like going off the board. Give me a tight end that's going to score a touchdown this week.
I'm going to go a little bit off the board, and I'm going to say Jimmy Graham.
Isn't he leading tight ends in touchdowns?
Yes, he is. But do you think he's gonna have any ownership?
The only reason he might have a little ownership is because it's Foles starting. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't think he's leading tight end touchdowns either. For what it's worth,
He's got three of them. But
let's see. Hawkinson's going to score a touchdown this week?
How old do you think Jimmy Graham is?
29.
33.
All right, that was close.
Yeah.
I thought the question was like he was because he's young and you were trying to trick me.
No, he's 33. He's been around for a long time.
Finish it off here, Grant, with a defense that's going to score 10+ points.
All right, I don't want to immediately say Baltimore because that would probably be cheating. Let's see. I'm going to try and stay in the 3K range.
This might be one of the hardest weeks for cheap defense, for what it's worth.
Yeah. I am going to go with – yeah, this is not easy for cheap defense. Oh, gosh. I'm going to go with Jags, 3K.
That's brave.
Well, the thought process is Joe Burrows is going to throw the ball 50 times. Like, their defense isn't good, but strictly with volumes and a rookie passer, like a few picks, maybe a fumble and a sack, like Joe Burrows is going to put up a big game. But he's going to be airing the ball out so much, I think, that the Jags are just going to end up with some points.
I think this is one of the toughest weeks for defense, for what it's worth. So I don't know. I was thinking of going like Cincinnati to be just the opposite side of you. Like who's your cheap? Like there is like no cheap defense to like this week. I don't know.
No, it's like there's nothing at the bottom. Like
I know,
absolutely nothing. Because I mean,
it's crazy.
The Texans maybe, but I mean Minnesota's not going to give up a ton. Like the Panthers hoping for some picks, but no, there's really nothing. Like the Titans were going to be the cheapest one going up against Pittsburgh, but they're not on the slate anymore.
I don't feel good about this, but give me the Chicago Bears.
The Bears.
It's Phillip Rivers. He's always good for at least one pick, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think like defense is going to be tough this week. Like this might be a week we have to kind of pay up for defense, and like you might pay up for Baltimore in cash games, and you never want to pay up for defense in cash. But like, who are you going to use?
I mean, you can use the Bucks.
Yeah, I was going to say the Bucks
and the Colts.
Yeah, Colts. I don't know. Is the Colts defense really this good though? I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Play Josh Allen. Play Mike Davis.
All right. That's going to wrap it up. Play Devonte Barker with those guys and make all the money this week. Hopefully we can continue to roll here. Good luck in your contest, and we'll see you again next week.
Hey, kids.